Growing up, I was really interested in science. My dad was a biology teacher, so we would constantly be having discussions about why is the sky blue or why are my eyes blue and those kind of things. So I was constantly very curious growing up. As I grew older, science definitely filled that gap that I had and that kind of thirst for knowledge of understanding the world. It drove me to go on to study neuroscience at university and answer some of the questions that I had. But through those studies, I think when I actually was doing the science myself, I realised that science wasn't the answer to the questions that I was asking. It began to make me think. My stepmum worked at the time for Catholic Voices, and she worked alongside Georgia. And Georgia at the time was running an Alpha course, and she invited me to join the Alpha course. At the time, I think I just kind of maybe just about thought that there could be a possibility of there being a God. I don't think I believed it myself. I didn't know anything about Alpha. I'd never heard about Alpha before, and I kind of thought it was just something she was doing and she wanted my support as a friend to come along to. So I said yes. It was probably the first time I'd been inside this church. And I remember thinking, oh, I really don't know how to act in a church. I don't know how to act around Christian people. I was really nervous and I was very shy, which is unlike me because I don't think I'm a shy person. But everyone was super welcoming and super lovely. For me, I just thought it was a really good opportunity to come and meet other people that were talking and asking the same sorts of questions, which, to be honest, it was the first time in my life that I'd actually come to an environment where people were asking the same questions as me, and maybe they didn't have the framework like I didn't to understand them. So week 4 in Alpha, I specifically remember being one that stuck out for me. There was an image of Jesus knocking at a door, and I remember being really struck by that image. And I think Nicky in the video says, Jesus is knocking at your door, all you've got to do is open it and let him in. And I thought, this is a really weird thing to think about, because at that point I got quite a lot of head knowledge. I think I was pretty much sure that God exists, but at the time I really couldn't get my head around the physical relational aspect with God, Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And I think what that image did for me was make me really think about what I was pursuing here, and it made me think that if I really wanted to give religion a chance of just understanding it, at that point I wasn't sure I was going to be a Catholic, then I had to think differently about how I wanted to address that relational aspect. So from that point, I decided that I would just be all in. Going all in looked like coming to Mass every week, trying to pray, getting my head around prayer, figuring out what that meant and what I needed to do was quite a big block for me, because it again felt so unnatural, and I had to reason with myself that speaking in your head was prayer. When I started knowing that I was praying, I think I realised that I had been praying all my life, but obviously I didn't know that I was praying to God. So I think that's something that Alpha helped me to do, was figure out how to start having a prayer life. And in the Catholic Church we have the Divine Office, which is a set of prayers that you can pray throughout the day, and that really helped me as well, just reading those, and it helped me to start to get a grasp about prayer and prayer life. I started to see the world in such a different light, everything oriented differently for me, away from the secular things that we try to fulfill ourselves with, but to God. And when you do that, it naturally falls into place, and it's just really hard to think of life being anything else. Once I finished Alpha, there was the second course here. It's called Catholicism for the Curious, but formally it's the RCIA program. And that entailed kind of further reading and learning about the faith, and properly formulate a plan for your life to incorporate all of those things in, essentially how you can be a Catholic, a Christian in your daily life. So that was really good for me. And then at the end of the year, I became a Catholic. I am completely fulfilled. I think before at university and definitely younger, I was constantly chasing the career, chasing the salary, chasing friends, chasing relationships with boys, chasing traveling, shopping, everything that you can think of that would fill that kind of gap that I had. And then coming to faith and being part of the Catholic Church, it provided such a fulfillment for those things. And I think it gave me a structure, and it gave me a structure that everything in my life just fit directly onto. Since becoming a Catholic, I've started helping quite a few different ministries here at the church. So I help with some of the youth ministry, where I help with children aged 2 to 6, which is really cute. Teaching them the gospel every week, teaching them about Jesus, playing some games. It's really great. I also read at church, so during Catholic Mass we have readings that people can come up and do. So I'm on the reader rota, and I also help on Alpha. I help to lead a small group and also to MC the sessions every week, and that was a really amazing experience. We had an amazing Alpha course, I think around 30 young adults, and of those I think maybe 12 came to become Catholic at the Easter just gone. So that was just such a blessing to be able to witness people going through a similar kind of journey that I was on. But I think all of these things have really helped to grow my faith, because you become part of a community, and that community, you're around other people that have the same beliefs, and they're aspiring to live their lives as Jesus. So I think to be around those people and to experience different ups and different lows, it's a really forming experience, because you learn how to grow in your faith, you learn how to improve your prayer life, you learn how to essentially become a disciple of Christ. But I think in the community, it's a great witness to be able to do that together and to grow together.